The last report I read from the UK suggested that almost 3/4 of the population had received at least one dose of the vaccine. And mind you, a number of them are taking the Pfizer vaccine, and so they do not even necessarily need to take 2 doses. So for Pfizer, you just take 1 and you're good to go. AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson, and several others, you may have to take multiple. That is 2 doses. And so we have a bit of a challenge when it comes to getting those vaccines and then administering them to the several people who need them. But the health minister has been speaking, and back in a few days ago, he held a press conference and he gave us a bit of an update as to what the situation is when it comes to getting these vaccines and perhaps why we do not have as many of them. And so we'll start with that particular sound clip where the health minister, Kweku Agyeman-Manu, on June 16, addressed the nation, spoke to us during one of the MOI press briefings and suggested quite a number of things. Let's take you there for this flashback.
We have started processes towards the establishment of a Ghana CDC, and that will be a big legacy that this pandemic had pushed us to look at. And we will soon be establishing CDC that will be sitting permanently to be tackling infectious diseases. Now let me go back or continue with vaccine procurement and deployment. A comprehensive plan was developed to vaccinate 20 million people, which is about 60% of the population, in phases, starting with most at-risk groups. You might wonder why Ghana was the first country to have benefited from COVAX initiative by sending the 600,000 doses of AstraZeneca sometime late February. One reason was that our vaccine deployment plan was about the first to have been done in Africa. When we sent it as part of the requirements for registration to receive vaccines, ours was adjudged the best, and therefore they couldn't hide themselves, shy away from us. That is one of the reasons why they sent us the vaccines first. COVID consignment 600,000 AstraZeneca was received, and on the 24th February. We started deployment on the 1st of March, 2021, and we plan to vaccinate all individuals 12 weeks after their first dose. And you know what might have happened now. After the first jabs, we had challenges with vaccine availability. And so we needed to hesitate a little bit. Remember, I have mentioned here about our zipline and drone deployment into our health system supply chain. Luckily for us, when the vaccines came in, we used the drones to support us distribute vaccines to some areas where we needed to vaccinate our health workers and those people who were identified to be in the first phase or the first cohort of population. Between 17th and 21st May, a total of 38,547 doses of vaccines were delivered to various places with the drones. Apart from the 600,000 vaccines we received from COVAX, I must mention, and we are thankful to India, the Indian government donated 50,000 doses. The MTN donation on 2 tranches of 315,000 doses on the African Medicines Platform window. Now, because of our fast deployment of our vaccines, countries that received some vaccines in Africa, some of them couldn't administer very quickly. So some were withdrawn and we became beneficiaries because COVAX still wanted to help us get the second dose to people. So they gave us another 350,000 withdrawn from Congo into this country. Now, I must say, because of our performance, the sister country close here had actually sent a team to come and see how Ghana was managing our vaccination and how we were moving at that very fast pace. Côte d'Ivoire had visited to learn peer review from Ghana in terms of vaccine deployment. Those of us who have not had our second dose yet, there is a lot of hope. We have indications that is giving us hope for the very near future. We are expecting vaccines from the US. We've got a promise from the UK to try to help us get our second dose go through very quickly. The numbers are just about what will give us the gap that we have with the second dose. The exact date that is coming, we don't know, but we anticipate this late June early July, these things will happen. Science is now telling us, I've told you several times, that this disease continues to manifest itself against all scientific thinking. Today it is this, tomorrow it is that. That is how this virus is treating scientists on the globe. Now they are telling us that even if you don't get it within the 8 to 12 weeks, you get even better protected if the time span between your first and second jab is a little bit expanded. So you shouldn't get too worried. If you have the first dose and you haven't got the second dose within the 12 weeks, you're still going to be protected until we give you the second dose. But that will not be longer. That will not be longer at all. So
Euro Fun Facts of the Day, proudly brought to you by Compu Ghana and Close Up. Euro Fun Facts. Georgino Wijnaldum scored his 24th and 25th goal for the Netherlands, surpassing Marco van Basten and De Kuyt, both 24, and equaling Rafael van der Vaart's record. Xherdan Shaqiri is now Switzerland's outright top goal scorer at major tournaments, both in the World Cup and Euros, with his second goal today, his 7th for his country.
What we do has consequences, intended and unintended. The decisions we make, the actions we bring, have weight.
When did it become a crime to succeed in this country?
We spotted a suspect trading pattern. All three firms have links to Bobby Axelrod.
Be careful out there.
Celebrities should be able to understand that political seasons come and go.
If a woman is running for a CEO or a COO something and then she's not married, then this woman is going to be rude.
Politics is the act of decision making.
You go to school and you learn a bunch of stuff that really you don't end up using. So then what's the purpose?
The quantum of graduates coming out of school every year, they realize that the job is inadequate.
What questions are on your mind? Does partisanship permeate every aspect of Ghanaian life? Can Africans truly run their own affairs without a need for foreign aid? Do you have absolute confidence in the ability of security agencies to come to your aid when you need it? Do the emergency lines in this country even work? For answers to these and more, join me, Noang Falong, on MX24.
Across Africa, nations are beginning to trade among themselves like never before, creating the largest continental market the world has ever seen. On the Single African Market program, we will show you how products and services will be crossing barriers as the continent and its people embrace a single market in a sustainable manner for growth and development to meet targeted UN development goals.
Congratulations, Your Excellency.
Get the latest update on all opportunities from the continent's trade house. Know the success stories and how challenges are being addressed. Africa is ready to trade among itself and the world, so are the people. The Single African Market is the voice of businesses that trumpets the vision of Africa everywhere in association with the Government of Ghana, CFDA Secretariat, International Chamber of Commerce, Business for Peace Foundation, GIZ, UNECA, and UNDP. All new on MX24.
The game we love and cherish has seen players whose names first hit local headlines now become heroes idolized by fans. My name is Selwyn Saki, and I bring you fresher sports news,
Junior, who gets a run and scores.
Detailed analysis of the big names with your favorite pundits, both local and international, right on here on MX Big Sports. Highlights, interviews, features, and much more right here.
Striking and keeping clear of the other Red Bull.
Join me on MX Big Sports weekdays at 2 p.m.
The news that matters the most is the news that hits closest to home. Politics, business, lifestyle, entertainment, whatever. Once it breaks, we are there.
If it touches you, your family, your community, or your safety, we've got it covered. You need to know what is happening in and around Ghana and on the international scene.
This is MX24 News.
Magical to watch. I loved it. Oh, I loved it.
Again, World of Dance, another level. This could be one of the best moments of my life.
I need you to remember we're scoring out of 100.
Angelina, you be cool in my temperature. If you call,
say cheese, take a picture. Shaka post, make a see, take a picture.
in the leg book, boah.
Why the party there today? Hey mama, hey I have a sip. Secure.
Shared by our fathers, our mothers.
It's weird.
Yeah, ours just went black too.
Secretary, you need to put the phone down.
Mike, what the hell is going on?
I said put the phone down.
Mike, please, just tell us what you know.
Eagle is gone. Sir, you are now the President of the United States.
Okay, many thanks for staying with us right here on MX24 television. You're welcome back. And it's time now for us to continue with the program. As you do recall, and as you heard the minister say there, he gave us a brief overview as to why we are where we are as far as the administration of those vaccines are concerned. And then he suggested, among other things, that, well, science has now even told us or taught us that if you've taken one shot, don't worry. If that 12-week period or window elapses, you are still safe, you are still protected. And actually, he says the vaccines work better when the thing even drags a little longer. I'm not too sure, but of course, the experts will help us understand whether really that is the case. So we'll get a bit more perspective on that. But there are two things I would like to take us through. One is that I need to let you know what the COVID numbers today are. Now, if you go to the Ghana Health Service website, it tells us something very simple, that as of now, there are 52 new cases, with 1,301 active cases on the calendar. Of course, for Greater Accra region, the total case count is at 52,419, Ashanti region 15,739, and then the Western region is now at 5,926. So these are the top three regions. For the recovery so far, we have 93,141 and then 794 deaths. Okay. So that is the situation. So 52 new cases. Doesn't look like such a big deal, but here's the background. The vaccine which we are using, which is AstraZeneca. Okay, so you can see a breakdown of the numbers as I just posited to you a short while ago. The confirmed case of COVID-19 and treatment outcomes as at 19th June 2021. This was 3 days after that presser by the minister. Today we are going to speak to a few people, but before that, let me take us through something here. If you look at the data available according to Reuters, provided by the country, Ghana, the data suggests quite a number of interesting things. And we're going to put it on the screen for you in a short while, so you take a look at it. But the, the site puts it at over 800,000 people, as in the Ghana Health Service suggests that over 800,000 people have been vaccinated. Okay, let me read this to you. Ghana, that is 7% of peak, 1 infections per 100,000 people reported in the last 7 days. Now, Ghana is reporting 51 new infections on average each day. This is from Reuters, by the way. 7% of the peak, the highest daily average reported on July 29. And this was last year. Now, there have been 95,059 infections and 794 coronavirus-related deaths reported in the country since the pandemic began. And so that data is consistent with what is on the Ghana Health Service website. Now, it also says Ghana has administered at least 1,232,876 doses of COVID vaccine so far. And then, assuming every person needs 2 doses, that's enough to have vaccinated about 2% of the country's population. Take note of that very number, 1,232,876. 1,232,876. Okay, let's hold on. Now, if you listened attentively to what the minister said just a few days ago, he had suggested that we have received 600,000 doses of the vaccine. If we have 600,000, there's no way we are able to administer 1.23 million. Again, on the website, it suggests that we have vaccinated 800,000 people. I'm still not clear what is going on, because now we are hearing 3 different numbers. But perhaps the health experts who are joining us will have some answers to that. Dr. Da Costa Boaje is Director of Health Promotion at the Ghana Health Service. He's joining us in our conversation. Also, Dr. Kofi Boni, research scientist, virologist at the Noguchi Memorial Research Institute, as well as Dr. Paul Oduro Owusu, a public health expert. These gentlemen are joining us to go through the numbers and to help us appreciate the situation, where we are now, whether or not new vaccines coming in are going to help, whether the Sputnik V vaccine and the AstraZeneca vaccine are as efficacious as we think they are, and whether they can deal with this new strain, the Delta strain of the virus that we are told is now in the system. Of course, the caveat here is that they are not yet community-based. So these are from persons who have arrived at the airport, and once they tested positive, they were asked to isolate. And so we've not recorded any of such in the communities. At least that's what the Ghana Health Service tells us. And so, gentlemen, if you can hear me, good afternoon, and many thanks for joining us right here on Opposing Views.
Good afternoon.
Great. I think I'd like to start briefly with Dr. Da Costa Boaji to help us understand what the numbers are, and then maybe from there we can dovetail into that that release by the Ghana Health Service seeking to clarify a lot of misconceptions and misinformation in the system. So, Doc, let me start with you. Are we still vaccinating people as of now? Okay, I think, Dr. Da Costa, you may have to turn your phone a bit. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please, I can hear you now. Fantastic. But you may have to turn your phone so we can see you. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Sorry, I couldn't get your though.
Yes, I was asking whether or not we were still vaccinating people. Do we still have some doses of the vaccines available for vaccination, or we've run out as of now?
Okay, so thank you.
Right.
To the best of my knowledge, we are, as of today, vaccinating the Ghana Statistical Service temporary staff.
Sorry, Doc. Again, I think the phone must turn the other way around because I see you upside down. Right.
Is this okay?
Yes, I think we can manage with this one. Yes, this is better. Great.
Okay. So, to the best of my knowledge, I know that we are vaccinating the Ghana Statistical Service voluntary staff.
Okay.
That they are using for the census. That exercise is under in almost all the regions today.
Okay. Okay.
So far, the AstraZeneca vaccines that we got, that is what we have used in vaccinating over obviously 900,000 people with their first doses. And out, we also received additional 350, and we had some spare ones there. So we have vaccinated about 380,000 people with their second doses. So that's for the AstraZeneca vaccine.
Doc,
and
quick one though.
We have about,
Doc, quick one, if you would indulge me.
About 580.
Doc, let me just find out briefly. How many vaccines have we received so far?
In fact, I don't have the data. I've just walked out of a meeting. I don't have the data now.
Okay.
But I think that, we had some from the COVAX.
So COVAX was 350,000. That was the first one.
That was the first 600,000. Then we also received an additional 350,000. Then the MTN from also gave us some. That was about 50,000.
Okay. We will try and get Dr. Da Costa Boaji back on the line. I think where he is, the internet connectivity is not that strong, so we'll try and get him via phone, and then he can help us appreciate what the numbers are. But because I mentioned, or I made reference to that very press release by the Ghana Health Service, I want to quickly read bits and pieces of that for you, and then we can continue with our discussion. Now, the Ghana Health Service press release talks about that statement or that story put out by My Joe Online. And, well, this is it. It says, response, COVID-19, deadly Indian strain detected in Ghana, Sputnik V AstraZeneca vaccines not effective against it. Now, I'm just going to read verbatim, and then we can pick one or two things which are very important to our discourse. Now, it says, the Ministry of Health and Ghana Health Service take note of a publication by myjournline.com on 21st June 2021 with the headline, COVID-19, deadly Indian strain detected in Ghana, Sputnik V AstraZeneca vaccines not effective against it. The service hereby informs the general public that 1. All passengers who test positive at Kotoka International Airport are put under mandatory isolation. 2. All positive samples are sent for further testing, that's the genomic sequencing, to identify the variants. 3. Variant sequence from samples of positive cases at the airport do not necessarily end up in the community. As of now, the country has detected 6 Delta variants of the SARS-CoV-2, which is COVID-19 virus, from all samples taken between April and June. And then it goes on to say that no Delta variant has been detected from samples taken from cases in the community. So essentially, it's rehashing the previous point that if somebody may have tested positive for COVID, that particular variant of COVID, it does not necessarily mean that that person is in the community, except that a number of these people are in self-isolation and they isolate in these communities. So that's where there's a bit of uncertainty or lack of clarity. But hopefully we can get that clarity subsequently. Then it goes on to say the MOH and the GHS, which is the Ministry of Health and Ghana Health Service, further informs the general public that in April 2021, there was a surge in cases at the airport, during which period 308 positives were identified. However, Ghana has not experienced a third wave, partly due to the robust surveillance system in place at the ports of entry and strict isolation of all cases detected. And then on the issue of vaccines, reports that Sputnik V and AstraZeneca vaccines are not effective against the Delta strain of SARS-CoV-2, that's the virus that causes COVID-19, are untrue. Between last night and today, I've had reason to read some material elsewhere which suggests that what the Ghana Health Service is saying is actually very, very true. AstraZeneca has an efficacy ratio of about 60% when it comes to this particular variant, and then Pfizer has about 80% or so. So that is true, except that the numbers is the only thing which is perhaps is in contest. So according to Public Health England, okay, so we won't go into that, but this is a fair idea of what the situation is. So again, let me tell you that Dr. Dacosta Abuaji, who is the Director of Health Promotion, Ghana Health Service, he's going to rejoin us via phone now. And then Dr. Kofi Boni, a virologist and a research scientist with Noguchi Memorial Research Institute, has decided to join us. We're really grateful he's taking time off to join us. Also, Dr. Paul Odro, who's a public health expert, is joining us. Let me go to Dr. Kofi Boni now and find out from him a few things. Doc, let's take a look at I wanted us to finish with a few things before we enter the issue of the variants, but since you are on, I think we should start with that. When it comes to this issue of variants, what is your research telling you? I'm reading a lot of material, some suggesting that the variant is 6 times more contagious than the previous one, and it's this and it's that, it can do all kinds of things. But what is your research telling us? Doc, can you hear me? I'm not sure Dr. Kofi Boni can hear me. Okay, he also cannot hear me. Then let me speak to Paul Odro, who is a public health expert. Doc, there are too many doctors on the show today, right? I think I should also be a doctor soon. Okay, all right. So Dr. Kofi Boni is on now. So I'll just start off with him quickly, and then I can come to Dr. Paul Odro for his views also on this subject matter. So let me clarify. So Dr. Boni, good afternoon again, and thanks for joining us. I was asking about what your research is telling you as far as this new strain of COVID-19 is concerned, because like I said, there's already too much information out there which paints a certain picture that suggests that, well, this variant is quite deadly and quite serious, highly contagious, and so we should pay particular attention to it. And several reports suggesting, well, this vaccine may not even work on it, that vaccine may work to a certain point and the like. But what is your research telling you? What does the data suggest?
So if you talk about research, currently in our part, we are not doing any research on it, but we are information, from the scientific world, which seems to suggest that the new variant is not a strain, it's a variant. The new variant is more contagious. In other words, it spreads faster than what you used to have. What is called a Delta, we used to have the Alpha, which was formerly called the UK variant. But not now, what the Delta is what we call, what was formerly referred to as the Indian variant. That is more highly contagious. What that means is that it spreads faster. If it spreads faster, that means it has the potential to cause more disease and more infections. And more infections will mean more hospitalizations. More hospitalizations will mean that more people will get sick and more people may probably die. So that is basically what it is about this new variant that we're talking about.
Okay. Looking at the rate of spread of this infection, does it look like we are headed for a third wave anytime soon? And what will be your timeline, if there's any such thing?
I will not be here and give you a timeline, but it is possible if we don't keep to the protocols. It's all about us observing what has been established as things that will help us to prevent infection.
Yeah.
We talk about vaccines. Vaccines are there not to prevent infection. We take the vaccines, basically it will help you to prevent severe disease. If you should get the infection, you probably may not get severe disease. That is it. Then apart from that, we have all the mechanical ones. Now they said we have to social distance. Are we doing that? I'm not sure. We have to do what we call the wearing of the face mask. Are we doing that? I'm not sure. We have to make sure that we don't go to crowded areas. Are we doing that? There are so many things that are being now, people are not just doing it. We are at a stage where we think that because we went low on the numbers, people are basically forgetting about some of these basic things. So if you ask a question about timeline, I can't give a timeline, but if we stop doing what we have to be doing, then probably we are going to get into a stage where we're going to have a lot of people getting this virus. So that's what I can say.
So, Doc, I asked that question in a particular context. So I want to read a bit of the release that was put out by the Ghana Health Service, and then he had suggested that the MOH and GHS further informed the general public that in April 2021 there was a surge in cases at the airport, during which period 308 positive cases were identified. Now, the data we also saw from Reuters a few minutes ago suggested that we have recorded quite a number in the last few days also. And so it begins to give the impression. I'm currently on the Ghana Health Service website, and it tells us that we have 52 new cases. I think yesterday when I checked, there was 45. Now we are at 52. Is there cause for concern, really?
Well, certainly there has always been causes for concern. You know it. Because look, I am currently speaking from Kumasi. In fact, I'm looking around, nobody's wearing a mask. Nobody. I don't see some of them, the people who are really wearing it is down their chin. So you can see that there is a cause for concern. If somebody should get into the midst of these people who are not wearing masks and start maybe coughing and sneezing, if the person is infected, you have a high chance of getting this virus spreading. So we have to have caution. The only thing we are saying is that education should still go on. People shouldn't lose their guard because the virus is still around. So there is a cause for concern. You are not telling me that there is a certain case. Yes, I am now showing you statistics that they gave us and showing that. So that means that we shouldn't forget of the protocol. We should keep to this. We should keep doing that. We should keep wearing our masks. We should keep washing our hands. We should keep social distancing. If we don't do this, then certainly we have a cause.
There's the question about, okay, let me start with this. There's a question about, of course, you've made reference to ensuring that we are adhering to the protocols and doing all that we have to do to protect ourselves. A number of these new infections, we are told, are not community-based. And so it has to do with people traveling in and out of the country.
Yes.
Now, some are suggesting that if really that is the case, should we then begin to consider perhaps a restriction on that particular movement, the people coming in and going out? Because if they are the ones bringing in the viruses, the new variants and the new, now we are told we have about 45 variants or so in Ghana. We don't even know which of them these vaccines can actually deal with effectively. And so if really the problem is not with the communities and it's just with those coming in and going out, would you go as far as suggesting that we should perhaps consider the possibility of placing some restrictions on those who use these facilities?
For restrictions for now, maybe it is not, you have to look at areas where we have more fatalities or more cases coming from there. Areas where we have, but then maybe we have to look at people coming from those areas carefully. I'm thinking that, well, we have the airport there. This is my personal opinion. If we have maybe flights coming from areas like India and those places where we are having a lot of cases, the people there should be further scrutinized. Maybe the normal screening is not enough. Because you see, we have an incubation period for this virus. Somebody will come to the airport, you do the test that is coming from the area. Can we hold on to that person for about 2 or 3 days and do the test again? It is something like that. Not restricting flights from there because you have economic implications. So people coming from high-risk areas, can we further scrutinize them or do more or less like screening?
Right.
Yes, you come with, sometimes you come with negative PCR results. And we do it immediately, it's negative. But can we just hold on to those people for 2-3 days or even a week and do another test before you allow them to go into the country? That's my personal opinion. That is my view.
Okay.
So if we do that, then we will not be catching, we will not be missing out those in the window period. Because you come, the virus may be incubated. So at the time that you are doing the test, you may test negative. But after 2-3 days, you may start showing positive signs, or you may start showing signs.
Okay. Let me hear from Dr. Paulo Drew now. He's a public health expert, like I introduced earlier. Dr. Paulo Drew, who is joining the conversation. Doc, let me ask this. So we've been told about this. The Ghana Health Service is suggesting that, again, in the same context, it's not community-based. The spread is not in the communities. It's just with the airports and the like. And so I think perhaps that particular line in their statement suggested that there's really not so much reason for worry because we are managing it. And even for those who test positive for this particular variant, we ask them to isolate, self-isolate. But the question I asked earlier was this. When they are self-isolating, they isolate in the communities. So really, I don't get the point. But should we be worried at all that there stands a higher chance of even this new variant spreading much, much faster than we even anticipate?
Yes, I think your worries are well warranted. We have been at this place before. I remember when the epidemic broke out in Ghana initially. The strategy was for people to do self-isolation. And we realized that compliance was an issue.
True.
And that somehow contributed to the community spread. And now we know this variant spread faster than the UK variant that we were dealing with. So there is no way we should take chances by letting people self-isolate. We are not disciplined enough, and we don't even have the structures to be able to monitor to confirm that the people who we say they should self-isolate are really doing it. So I think the best is to have facilities where these positive persons will be kept and then strictly monitored until they are discharged. And also, yes, it may not, we might have not detected it in the community because perhaps maybe no one have showed up with those variants yet. But it is not a guarantee that we don't have it in the community. We know the AstraZeneca, even though the efficacy drops, it's able to hold up to about 60% in terms of efficacy against this Delta variant. So what it means is people may harbor the virus and may not show severe symptoms, for which reason they will go to the hospital.
True.
Yeah, so it's possible we may have these variants in the community. It's just a matter of time for it to blow up, and they will be seeing quite a number of infections. So the fact that we catch it at the airport is not enough guarantee that we don't have it in the general population. Because for the dynamics of this infection is if you are exposed to the virus and then you test maybe within 48, 72 hours, it may be negative, but you may be harboring the virus because it needs time to multiply for you to get a certain quantity before the test device will be able to pick it up. So the fact that I test negative upon arrival doesn't give anybody the assurance that indeed I didn't come into the country with a virus. So ideally, those people coming from areas with this variant, my recommendation would be that even if you test negative at the airport, you should still be kept in some form of isolation and monitored over time. Probably do 1 or 2 tests at time intervals for us to be sure that if you came in with a virus and the load was low, for which reason the antigen test didn't pick it at the airport, by the time you are being discharged, you would have had enough time for the virus to incubate, multiply, and then show up if indeed you came to the country with the virus.
So that's the
and
case.
I think that would be a better tool to monitor this than just screening antigen and then letting the people come into the population.
So that's a good way of looking at and dealing with that particular issue with the cases recorded at the airport. How about the situation at the various communities? It's as though all is well, and everyone has forgotten about everything that happened some time back when there were so many lives being lost to COVID. We are seeing funerals being held in gargantuan fashion. We are seeing parties and weddings and all kinds of things. Further easing of restrictions. So we were just told last week that even cinemas can now open. A lot more contacts is going to be had in all of these instances. How do we then deal with that situation also?
I think the authorities will have to revisit some of these things. At least we know that this variant is highly transmissible. It causes severe infections, even in persons who have had vaccination. I was reading a publication online, and it estimated that about 10% of persons who were hospitalized in the UK as a result of the COVID infection and have fully vaccinated, that have had 2 shots of the AstraZeneca vaccine, came down with the Delta strain. So even those that are fully vaccinated and protected, about 10% of them went down with a serious illness from the Delta strain. We are talking of a situation where just about 340,000 people have been fully vaccinated. One jab is quite less effective against this Delta strain. The Pfizer offers about 33%, AstraZeneca may be lower. So in terms of we getting out of the woods, I don't think we are anywhere near them. UK has vaccinated about 47% of their population fully, but they are still tight on easy restrictions and all those things. So I don't think, especially with the emergence of this Delta variant, I don't think this is a time for us to be lifting restrictions and all those. We should rather go back and then impose more restrictions in order to at least get ahead of the virus before it takes us by surprise, just as India did in a couple of months ago.
Okay. Dr. Dacosta Boaji is rejoining us in our conversation. Doc, good afternoon, and thanks again for rejoining our conversation. Doc, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. So we've heard the views of 2 of your colleagues, Dr. Kofi Boni and Dr. Paul Oduro, all suggesting that perhaps we need to take another look at our strategy if we are really keen on curbing the spread, because with the further easing of restrictions and the like, it appears as though the risk may be a bit higher now. Are you aware of any plans by government to perhaps deal with that particular situation? Should we be looking forward to maybe some form of restriction of sort. I had even gone as far as suggesting that perhaps even those who are coming into the country, we must find a way to restrict their movements, because if we are recording a lot more of these strains or variants from them, then we might as well pay a lot more attention to them and then focus also subsequently on the communities. But of course, what's government's take on this?
Okay, so thank you very much and good afternoon to your viewers. Let me say that regardless of which variant it is, there are some measures that government has or have put in place to make sure that these viruses are contained or are curtailed. In the whole world, the safety protocol seems to be our best bet. So I will say that we should go back to the basics by strict compliance to the safety protocols. Some of the fiscal measures are also in place, and we should, like you talked about, obviously the funerals and the others. So our ability to take personal responsibility and comply with the safety protocols, that is what is lacking. Now let me come back to the variant, as you obviously stated. We have a very good system at the airport, and these systems that we put in place, like the antigen test, managed, in April, the data that we are talking about is from April to, I think, June, early June or something. You remember that we had some sets where a day we recorded about 75 cases at the airport. Normally what we do is that when we get these positive cases, we subject them to genomic sequencing. And it is out of this sequencing that we noted that there were some of the new variants, that's the Delta variant. Now, bear in mind that there is it is not in our communities, because we also did follow up and did some samples within the communities. So it is not in our communities. So I think that we have to be measured by what we say.
So it's a statement of fact as of now that we do not have this particular variant in our communities.
Certainly, you can read from our statement that
I've seen the statement,
so
but I'm only saying that it may not be possible that we have tested everybody in the community, for which reason we're able to say for a fact that we don't have them in our community.
You see, the fact of the matter is that we speak to data. The current data that we have, at least we've done some community surveillance.
Okay, what is the sample size of that?
It in the community, and I do not have data suggesting that it is in the community.
Okay.
I cannot come and tell you.
Okay, so based on the tests you have done in the community, so let's say if you may have sampled, say, over 500,000 people.
I have told you that regardless of what the situation is, the best protection is the face mask, the washing of hands. In fact, do you know that previously we had the South African strain as well, aside the UK strain and the others. So we continue to have the strains. But the point is, if we comply with the safety protocols, I think it will be fine. The fact of the matter is that, yes, we've detected the strains at our airport, further carried out studies, and we know that there is no community spread. That is what we know for now. So let's deal with it as it is now. And the simplest of it is that people should comply with the safety protocols.
Okay.
That is what we are asking from the Ghanaian population.
I agree
will
with you
say
totally.
That we should fix the behavior in wearing our face mask.
Okay.
Everyone do have a responsibility. And this responsibility is what we have to obviously advocate for now. That is what we need.
So for you, it would not necessarily be a problem even if the government decided to continuously ease restrictions, but your approach would be that let's just focus on wearing the face mask and the like, and that will perhaps solve our problem. Or is it a combination of the two?
No, of course. Now we know that the infections are coming down. It was about last two weeks that we had a set of about our active cases were 2,300. But now currently, as we speak, it's coming down. So you see, the thing is...
But actually, the active cases as of this morning is 1,301. And the new cases we have for today alone is 52, based on the information on the Ghana Health Service website.
We had 86 or 89.
Yes, but between yesterday and today, because yesterday was, I think, 45 or 46, now we have 52. So gradually we are going back up.
It's okay. So now, I mean, my point is that we have a solution in our hands. What is the solution? People are completely disregarding the safety protocols that have helped us to this end. Let me tell you something. You remember in August, as of August 2020, we recorded less 300 active cases. Yes. We all obviously let down our guard. That is how come we had the second wave in January, February, thereabouts. Now, the threat is there. How do you mitigate the threat? To mitigate the threat, we have to follow the simple protocols. And that is it. There is no but and there is no if.
Right.
Because that is what is going to help us as a country.
Okay. Doc, let me
I'm saying,
because you've mentioned that.
Wait, hang on. The only defense to any variant in this country or anywhere is the protocol, the safety protocols. Why are we running from the safety protocols?
Okay. Doc, Doctor, okay, everybody is a doctor here, so sorry. So, Dr. Da Costa, Dr. Bonnie in his submission earlier had mentioned that he has been to Kumasi and what he saw was not very favorable or palatable. Now, quite a number of people he had met were not adhering to the protocols. It is as though everything is back to normal. And you cannot necessarily blame the people because they see the leaders do same. And they are at all of these events, most of them not in their nose masks, not wearing anything, not using sanitizer, not doing any of these things. And so what has been the communication from your outfit to government as far as some of these things are concerned? Because I do know that you hold regular meetings with them to brief them and to update them. So what has been the communication from your end?
Okay, so thank you. So like I said, from the president to everyone, we are all Ghanaians. So it is not only to say that leadership, it is everyone. And I am saying that the personal responsibility aspect in adhering to the safety protocols in managing this pandemic is lacking. So, you see, because I am a Ghanaian, obviously I'm not taking myself out. We are all at fault, and we all have to take responsibility. For example, I have my part to play by disseminating the COVID-19 messages, educating the population, making sure I engage a lot. The police do have a part. They have to ensure that compliance is actually ongoing, or people are adhering to the protocols. When we have cases, we have the case management team. So it's a collective effort.
Right.
But the citizens must also play their part. Okay. Because, you see, like you are saying, if you blame it on leadership, are the leaders not Ghanaians? They are all Ghanaians. So it is all our responsibility, everybody's responsibility to make sure that they are doing their part. That is the sort of everything that I've said.
Okay. Let me ask for a bit of an update on the vaccines. Are we looking forward to receiving any more in the coming days? So let's say the Sputnik V, for instance, and all of the brouhaha that came with it when we decided to use a third party to get them and all. Is there any update as far as those vaccines are concerned? Because we had set ourselves a target, in fact, multiple targets. We may have missed some of them, but at least we still have a few to go. We said by close of year we should have vaccinated a significant majority of Ghanaians. Does it look like we are on course as far as that is concerned?
At the moment, obviously, you know that the global supply chain has suffered some obviously challenges. But the fact of the matter is that we continue to engage. We continue to see how best we can get some of the vaccines, especially for the the people with their first dose waiting for their second doses. So we continue to update the country, but for now, our surest bet is for people to comply with the safety protocols. Let's wear our face mask.
Okay.
During the first week, we didn't have any vaccination, but we managed to bring it down to less than 300 cases with the face mask, with the hand washing. So let us continue. Your message to the Ghanaian population, the media, should be compliance, 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 with the face mask and hand washing being the ultimate to help us in managing this pandemic.
That is to suggest then that we are not sure when we are going to get new vaccines.
Well, I mean, we continue to engage. When the global supply chain has suffered some challenges, it's not only Ghana. So
yes,
we
understand that. In fact, we've even been told of plans to set up a local hub here where we can even produce some of those vaccines. So we've understood all of that. But my point is, are we getting any new vaccines? Are you aware if we are getting any new vaccines anytime soon?
Yeah, but if the challenge is how we just have to.
Okay, so that's a no. That's a no. I just wanted a yes or no to that. I can understand. No, I can understand. I can understand the context you try to give, but I'm saying that one is well understood. We've communicated that time without number. But I just wanted to know I wanted a yes or no as to whether we had firm assurances that we're getting vaccines anytime soon in the coming days.
I have no information to that.
All right. Dr. Da Costa, thank you very much. Let me hear from Dr. Kofi Boni and Dr. Paul Odro. So let me start with Dr. Kofi Boni. Doc, you've heard Dr. Da Costa there suggest quite a lot. Let me just hear your reaction to most of the things he has said. Yeah. Okay. Dr. Boni cannot hear me, can he? Let me hear from Dr. Paul Odro then, because I think I saw him nodding and shaking his head at some point still. So, Doc, if you can hear me, what would be your reaction to what it is you heard Dr. Da Costa Borges say as regards all the things about the virus and the variant and all of that?
Okay, good. So he made it quite emphatic that based on analysis done, the Delta variant is not in the community. I don't want us to get, I don't want us to get very comfortable with this because we know we have a screening strategy in place at the airport. But we also know that it is not foolproof, just as any other diagnostic test. So there is that window of slip. So we should just work with the understanding that it is possible there could be some in the community. And because it spread very fast, at that point, everybody will have to be on guard as far as the non-pharmaceutical preventive protocols are concerned.
Could it be the case that they do not want to cause panic? Could it be the case that they do not want to cause panic, particularly when they do not have evidence to suggest that perhaps this strain might be in the system? So, there's no point putting out that information if really you don't have the evidence.
I think some level of fear is important in getting people to do what they have to do as far as this COVID situation is concerned. Because yes, I've also seen people throwing the protocols, away completely. You go to places, no face masks, and I think the leaders are not doing us any good. Because we have restrictions, nobody follows, and then nobody is punished. And usually, we know these new restrictions are not our normal way of life. So the tendency for every human being is to go back to the normal. And once we allow people to go back to the normal, getting them back to follow the restrictions may be very difficult. So we shouldn't have even gotten to this, place at the first time. If we had continued with these strict, measures, I am sure by now a lot of people would have become used to it. So you even do it without realizing that you have done that.
Yeah.
But if you allow people to slip back to normal, now you have to educate them to come back to the restrictions. And I think it's really going to be difficult. We only pray that we don't have this variant in the community. That is only our only prayers we are offering to God now, that we don't have. But if we do, looking at the way we adhere to the protocols, it may get out of hand.
Doc is rather spiritual and religious this morning, resorting to prayers rather than science, because it looks like the data may not help in that regard. But maybe the final one before you go, will you advise that the country perhaps, based on everything we have read and seen so far, particularly as regards the new variant we speak of, would you advise that government perhaps begins to consider switching its focus from maybe Sputnik V, AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson, to maybe Pfizer and a few others, which may have proven to be more efficacious when it comes to dealing with a lot more of these variants?
Okay, so I think preliminary data available has said that, generally, all the vaccines that we know, the efficacy has dropped as far as the Delta strain is concerned. The Pfizer and Moderna were quite high, I think 95, 92% thereabout. But against the Delta strain, it has dropped to around 88% or so.
Right.
The AstraZeneca was hovering around 75, 82%. It has dropped to 60. So it's not like it is useless. But for RNA viruses, they mutate.
Right.
So we expect, it shouldn't be something that is unexpected. That with time we are going to get variants that may escape the protection that we have. So yes, in the interim, we may have to probably look at more effective vaccines. But even the Pfizer and Moderna that we are thinking of now, in the very near future, may no longer be effective based on how this virus mutates and all those things. So I think the research in manufacturing of vaccine should continue so that any possible variant that comes that may evade the immune responses current ones will elicit.
Right.
We will be well positioned to have a vaccine that will be able to take care of them.
Okay. All right. Doc, many thanks for your time on Opposing Views today. I'm really grateful you took time off to join us. And that was Dr. Paul Odros, who is a public health expert. You heard him speak there, suggesting, among other things, the need for all of us to pay particular attention to the protocols because this particular variant spreads rather fast, and so if you're not very careful, you may end up catching this, and we do not want the worst to happen. So please, as much as possible, try as much as possible to adhere to the protocols. Wear the face mask, wash your hands with soap and the running water, use the sanitizer, maintain social distancing. I don't know how that last part will be, though, maintaining social distancing when we are easing a lot more restrictions, but of course, we'll work with what we have. Right? Okay. Also on the show today was Dr. Kofi Boni, research scientist and virologist at the Noguchi Memorial Research Institute, as well as Dr. Da Costa Boaje, Director of Health Promotion at the Ghana Health Service. One takeaway for me, though, in our conversation with Dr. Da Costa was that it doesn't look like we have vaccines coming anytime soon. It doesn't. So please, try as much as possible to stay safe and to observe the protocols. That's how we wrap up on today's edition of Opposing Views. But before I go, I have to go for lunch, and I'm sure you also have to go for lunch if you haven't eaten, or perhaps even if you've eaten and you just need something just to, cleanse the system, just cleanse the mouth and all. Do well to visit Every East Restaurant and Bar right here at East Legon. If you're around East Legon itself, Medina, Spintex, Accra Mall area, all of those areas, please do well to pass by a Free East Restaurant because they have some rather interesting meals for you. You can locate them on the Boundary Road close to MX24 or the MX24 roundabout, and you find them there. These are some very nice visuals from that very facility, Free East Restaurant and Bar. They are open every single day. You can go there and get something to eat. Go there with family and friends. Of course, observing social distancing. Go there with your family and friends, your girlfriends, your partners, your wives, to an extent concubines, even if you so wish. And give them a wonderful treat at the Free East Restaurant and Bar. If you want to place an order, do well to call 0246 080925, 0246 080925, and you'll be glad you did. Thank you for taking time off.